Hey everyone, my name is Neil Karski and I'm the CEO of Patient Engine, a seven-figure digital marketing, lead conversion, and coaching agency for high-ticket aesthetics providers. And I would like to personally welcome you to the Aesthetic Millionaires Show, where we sit down with industry entrepreneurs to talk about their personal journeys and discuss proven growth strategies. My genuine hope is that through this podcast, we can create more success stories in this industry and help more business owners scale past their competition. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined today by the owner and CEO of J. Marie Skin Studio in Longmont, Colorado, Jessica Brandon. How are you, Jessica? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. So let's dive right into it. What kind of inspired you to dive into this industry? How old were you? Did you always want to be an entrepreneur? Tell me more.
Well, you're just going all in, right? Right out the gate. So no, I had no idea that I wanted to be in the aesthetics industry. In fact, it was not even on my radar. I first started out, I was doing bookkeeping and accounting, and then I started working in the hospital because I thought I wanted to do nursing. So I became a CNA, an MA, a phlebotomist, went to work with a physician, and at the time, we were struggling with Medicare. They had froze payments for physicians, and so we needed to look for avenues to bring in cash. So I had this brilliant idea, why don't we do Botox, open up a med spa? So I worked with her for 13 years, and I got to do a little bit of everything. I managed all of her practices. She had a urological oncology clinic. I worked in clinic and assisted in surgeries, and also got to do the management side of the business. And then she also owned a holistic day spa. So that's where I found my love for IV nutrition therapy. And then we opened up a medical spa and quickly grew that to a multi-million-dollar practice. And that's how I got into aesthetics. And fast forward, when she's getting ready to retire, it was a brutal process for me as, the manager of all of these companies. And one day I just said, I can't do this anymore. And I left. And I had no idea what I was going to do. But I ended up getting one little suite and one little room, slanging facials and waxing 2,000 parts and doing all the things. Well, I was trying to figure out what my next move was. And luckily for me, in that process, my business just grew so quick. And, I just decided, hey, we're going to ride this wave and we're going to go, wherever the synergy is taking us. And here I am 8 years later with a multi-million-dollar med spa. So, yeah, I had no clue. I had no idea that this is what I wanted to do. But, hindsight's always 20/20. And it's kind of cool that, I do have the accounting and bookkeeping background. And I used to knock on doors for a living even before that. So I can sell ice to an Eskimo. I have no problem going up to someone and promoting myself and my business, So all of those small things brought me to, where I am today. And I'm grateful for every experience that I've had leading up to this point.
So the lady you managed the businesses for, would you say that she had a big part in influencing and maybe even mentoring in some ways to transfer some her knowledge and experience that actually helped you to skip the learning curve when you went 110% entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I don't know that you actually skipped the learning curve. It's even 8 years in, it's still a learning curve. But I do think that, yes, Dr. Amelia Rapol influenced me in so many ways. One, she was from Barcelona. She was not from here. So she came here, didn't speak a lick of English, and, went to school. And she became a urologist, which is kind of a good old boys club. You don't see a lot of female urologists, and she's a world-renowned physician. So to be able to have access to her and ask her about, hey, what about, how does this affect the body? Hey, those vitamin C drips, how would that affect the skin? And how would that improve, my outcomes and things has been really tremendous. Not only that, but she took a chance on me. She gave me the opportunity. She sent me to school to get injectable certified. She sent me to school to learn different skills and different crafts. So she invested in me, not just emotionally and energetically, but also financially. So I think it's always important to pay homage to those that really, saw more in you than you believed was possible, and also encouraged you to play big and show up big. So for me to see this, Spanish woman, I'm Spanish and Mexican American, and I'm really proud, but to see her just go after it and play so big, it set the bar really high for me. So I was really grateful for that influence. In my family, there's not a lot of entrepreneurs. There's not a lot of people who, went to college and are lettered, and that was not at all in the cards for me. And it was just really great to have someone show me a different way of doing things.
Got it. You mentioned something really important, and it's sales, but we'll get into that here in a second. But we have a lot of this story to build, because we went from a single room here to multi 7-figure establishment. So let's dive into that journey a little bit more. So you were 8 years ago, you got your one room. You started doing a lot of waxing, which is in facials, which are popular services, right? So you knew, hey, there's a demand for it. I can provide this service. People like me. And so how did you build up the clientele? Was it some clientele from your past ventures? Was it your network? Let's get into this humble beginnings a little bit and talk about how you were able to grow a loyal customer base in the beginning to eventually get out of that one room.
Yeah, well, I'll say that, first starting out again, I was not looking to build and to grow. I figured, I could treat a few of my family members and my friends, and it would be enough to pay the bills. So that way I can take a deep dive into medical. And so I was not really looking to build, but I, did what I know how to do. And the first thing I did was take to the streets. I started pounding the pavement. So I knocked on doors and said, hey, I'm Jessica. I'm new in the neighborhood. And I just opened up a med spa. I'd really love to treat you to a free facial. And all I'm asking for in return is a Google review, which helped increase my SEO optimization, my online presence, and helped me build trust in the community. And in doing so, I was able to retain 98% of those clients that came in for free facials. So, I knew that I was good. I knew that I was competent. I knew that that I would rock these people's worlds if they just got in my chair, and I would keep them coming back for more. So I started going door to door, and that's how I built my business. It was really important to me to not build my business off of someone else's hard work. And we see that a lot in this industry where, people will come into your practice, you invest in them, you put a lot of money, time, effort, and resource into educating them. And then, next thing you know, they're off and doing their own thing. And that's just part of, the game you play when you attract ambitious people, right? But I knew that for me, I wanted to build and to grow based on my hard work, based on the connections that I made. So I specifically did not target, nor would I even see any of the clients from my old practice. So just hit the streets and built an incredible network, joined the chamber, did a lot of word of mouth advertising, and just really got solid on building those connections in the community of people that I knew would drop my name if anybody was looking for my services. So I think the relationship building was a big piece for me.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to fast forward a little bit because I want to piggyback off something important that you said. You said that, a lot of like estheticians or injectors, they'll come in and, like you said, they might build a book of business in your practice and then they might take it. I know there was a lot of stuff going on in in the U.S. around like the non-competes and agreements and things not holding up in court, etc. How do you keep your how do you avoid that from as an entrepreneur in this space? How do you avoid that from happening? I don't know if it's a foolproof way to do that, but how do you avoid that from happening and minimize your risk of your maybe some of your motivators, some of your top staff maybe leaving and starting their own practice?
I don't really think that there's a way that you can keep that from happening. And then, also as a leader in the industry, as a mentor in my community, I would never want someone who had this desire in their heart to become an entrepreneur, to do their own thing, especially females. I'm a champion for women. I would never want to be the reason why they decided not to do that. And I certainly wouldn't want to strong arm them by holding them to this, nasty contract in order to do that. I think some of the things that have really helped me is I hire slow and fire fast when the energy, the vibe, when the work ethic, when the integrity, when the trust is broken, I'll fire really fast. I don't let them linger around and it permeate your entire team, right? But also, do good business, like have solid contracts. And you're right, in this world of non-competes, they're almost impossible to hold. So there's a lot of strategies that, working with my new attorney, that we've put in place in our contracts, like, to be able to help and protect our business and our client base a little bit better. So I think, don't ever apologize for doing good business and for having really tight contracts. People who don't move with integrity, they're going to try and steal your client base. They're going to try and steal, your protocols. They're going to try and, mimic what you do. But that's not for you to fight or to reconcile. Like, I really do believe in the laws of the universe. I believe in God. And I just don't think that if you're moving in a way that is not in integrity and honesty, the universe isn't going to support you that way. God's not going to bless you when you're moving that way. I think where we get caught up, because this industry is, it can be catty. Where we can get caught up is in, trying to make all of those things right and whole. And it's just really a distraction in your business. So have really good contracts. Don't be afraid of doing really good business, and know that every experience serves you. So even, the ones that don't go your way, they still serve you. You can learn to tighten up your contracts. You can learn to maybe not go all in with, spending money on education on the front end. Maybe there's some KPIs where they can earn education dollars. So we've changed a lot of the ways that we, pay for education with the team. And I think it's just been really super helpful.
Yeah. And I guess the better you treat your employees, the less likely they are to leave too, right? That's
Again, I think that you can, one of the things that we're known for is a team culture and experience. We take the team on, we've been on trips to Tulum, we go to the hot springs, we do, start our meetings with sound bath, and you can have the best team and the best culture. But again, if it is someone's strong desire to become an entrepreneur, to, go into business for themselves, it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to be able to keep them from doing so. And do I really want to be a part of that side of the story? I want to be a part of their story that says, you know what, Jessica took a chance on me. I had never put a needle on someone's face, and she took a chance on me, and she taught me everything that I know. She taught me to do really great business. She taught me how to toe the line between personal and professional relationships. I want to be a part of that story. So there is, I am great friends with a lot of the individuals who have left my practice, and I am a part of their success story. And I really do love that side too. Sure, there have been instances where, people didn't honor a contract, and then you're lawyering up and you're doing all of those things. I don't give it too much energy. That's why we have lawyers. That's why we have all of these things. It's really just a distraction. I focus on the people who lead with integrity. I do everything that I can to throw my full support behind them and help build their brand and, send them clients and do things like that. And I just prefer that energy. And that's where I give my focus.
sounds good. How How did you learn? I think we talk about this a lot on this podcast and with my clients as well in the agency space. But when you look back at like 8 years ago or even 5 years ago, like you said, you ran free facials as in kind of an intro offer. I used to think, I would agree with you, stuff like that worked back then. I would disagree. I would say that it doesn't work now because people don't value free the way they did before. I think the industry was a lot less saturated and a lot less competitive back then. So, but I'm glad you recognized that you needed to offer some sort of value to attract new clients in the door. So that's really cool that you did that, because it allowed you to gain somebody's trust and establish a relationship with these first few patients that you had, and then that ended up snowballing. We talked. You mentioned sales, which I think, sales and marketing these days is how you build a really healthy service-based business, especially in our industry, right? Because there's so many med spas, so many, right? You'd agree. I mean, there's in every single corner in a major market, there's a med spa, right? But you talked about sales, and you said, hey, I said an Eskimo, which is great. So it's a couple questions for you. How did you learn how to sell? How did you take that into aesthetics? And then how do you train your staff on sales and to be at least, 80% as good as you are?
Sure. So going back to the original comment about, people don't value free, they don't. So I think it's really important that if you're doing something for free, one, I don't discount anything. Like, I don't run monthly specials. I have built a brand that is high end. I am priced higher than the plastic surgeon in town. I want to attract, that female entrepreneur who really values luxury and this one-stop shop where she can get the most bang for her buck in the shortest amount of time. So it's not just about sales and marketing as much as it is, really being able to tap into, your client and, deliver on your brand promise. So it's really about the client or the customer journey more so than it is, the knocking on doors and the Instagram ads and the Google ads and the pay-per-clicks and all of that jazz. And I could give 10,000 free facials away. But if they walk into the door and they don't feel that promise that I told them I was going to deliver on, that they would be cared for, they would be heard, they would be seen, they would be valued, that we would go the extra mile for them, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day if you're telling a story online and your clients come into contact with your brand and they're getting a different experience. So, I think it's really important to not just, slaying free facials and, get so heavy on the marketing as it is to say, hey, what is the feeling that I want my clients to feel when they come into interaction with my brand, whether that be on the phone or at an event or in person or in the treatment room, and then be really consistent with that message, and also being able to make sure that your team can deliver on that promise that you made to your clients. We don't do discounts and promotions. I don't want to be the Walmart of skincare. I want to be the Louis Vuitton of skincare. So I think you have to be really mindful, because when people come out the gate and they're trying to, get people in the door, I think we get in trouble by over discounting and undervaluing our team and our services and, the education and all of that jazz. So be careful with that. I have never in my entire existence of J. Marie, I have not spent one single dollar on advertising or marketing. No Google ads, no Instagram ads, no membership programs, none of that. It is just straight building relationships with my clients and making sure that I'm always delivering on that promise.
So, Jessica, I don't know if you've had a chance to research me, but that's how I scale brands, right? It's paid ads. So I'm going to challenge you a little bit here, because one, you've never run ads, but you grew your business organically, which is fascinating. Like, you've I would say you're an outlier in some ways. I think it's a longer journey. And then you don't start out as a Louis Vuitton skincare, right? Like you said, you start humbly in one room and you really worked your ass off by building these relationships, by getting yourself out there, by getting clients better results and stuff like that. And then you got to that point where you're like, hey, listen, like now I have a really great luxury brand, and now I can really, I can ask for the top dollar. I think like from my angle, it's like, I think if you're willing to go through what you've gone through for the next, 5 years and really build it organically and say, hey, because like, just because you claim you're a luxury brand and this isn't about you, doesn't mean you are, right? Like it's your quality, it's your results. Like you said, it's your patient experience. It's how you make people feel. So it's like, it's really the outcomes of what you're trying to put it out there. And like, you've had to kind of grow into that, right? Like,
Sure.
but there are people who are like, maybe, maybe they're, they want to go faster, right? And to me, like, that's like, for me, I start my spa, it's a boutique spa, but I didn't like, I'm not there. I'm doing marketing, I'm doing podcasts. Like, I wanted to make sure I have fast growth. Like, I can only do that with ads, right? I need to have an offer out there because the market is so saturated. But I will agree with you that I did spend a lot of money into my website, my brand, how it feels, like how the rooms are designed, the experience, the training, the staff. And that was really important because people came into these small spas and they said, wow, like you guys are really conveying a different image, and they felt good and they had a good experience and they knew they were going to get results. So like, I really do commend you on the fact that you were able to, to really like we're going to get into the journey because it's about the journey because there's a lot of stuff we skipped, but you're saying, hey, like I never run ads, but like, let's not discredit the fact that you've probably networked endlessly, that you were put yourself out there in front of people, like, which is marketing, right? It's a different type of advertising, right?
Exactly.
So you had to put in a lot of like time, and you had to put yourself out there a lot more, in an era, because like, still 5 years ago, like digital was popular, but not to a point where it's like so saturated like it is now. So, I would agree with you that like, I think there's different ways to do things and different ways to grow. And like, let's just, and you're at a point right now, you're like, hey, listen, like I have a 7-figure spa. We get clients amazing results. This is who we are. And this is who we want to attract, which is good that you have that clarity. And guess what? You could probably still run ads and still, get even more growth, right? Or start another location and do something similar. But this is what you decided to do, which is awesome. I want to talk about sales because it's super important. How did you learn how to sell aesthetics, especially high ticket? Because it's like you said, slanging. I like the term you said, slanging facials. So how did you turn from slanging facials to actually selling high ticket treatment plans? Question number one. And question two is, how did you train your staff who so like I had an esthetician who, she came from a facial spa and she was like, I'm selling $150 facials. You want to have me sell $3,000 to $5,000 treatment plans and body sculpting? How am I going to do that? I'm like, I have to train you, right? Because it's different. And she did, and she's been selling deals. So like, I want to know what your process for that is because, well, one, it starts with having the right people, but if you have that in place, let's talk about those two things.
Okay. And going back to the sales and marketing piece, I'm now at a point in my business where I am buying a building. I am doubling my treatment rooms. For me to scale to my next level, I'm not going to be able to do that with the organic marketing that I'm doing, right? Like I'm going to have to come in with paid advertising and things because I'm doubling my capacity essentially. And I want to do so overnight. I don't want to do so, again, when I started my business, it was a very slow grow process. And then I got to this point in COVID where I go, you know what? I need to go back because I grew so fast and I need to create processes and procedures so that way I can bring on a bigger team, right? And now that I have a bigger team and getting ready to double, my capacity in terms of rooms and do all of that jazz, absolutely paid advertising is going to be a part of that marketing program. So I think the key thing is know where you are in your business and know when it's appropriate to pull the trigger on some of those things. But again, if your clients have a crap experience, it doesn't matter how many people you bring through the door. You're not going to grow. You're not going to be able to close that sale. You're not going to be able to bring them back. So I think that's just really important. And going back to the sales piece that you were mentioning, I knocked on doors for a living. I used to sell them $20 coupons, knock on people's doors for 12 hours a day. So I think that definitely gave me some confidence. If you can take 100 no's a day, then one more isn't going to hurt you. I think really knowing the client's problem and do I have the tools, the team, and the resources to be able to help them with this problem? And you arm your team with education. If they are educated, if they are experienced, and they have the opportunity to, practice these treatments over and over again, and to, get extended education on things like lasers and injectables and all of those things, you're really just arming your esthetician team or your sales team with all of the tools that they need to be able to close that deal. And I hate, yes, sales are a part of what we do, but really, if you're doing it right, you're not selling anything. You're really just listening to your client. You are, you are being kind when you are delivering a treatment plan, and you're being very realistic about the expectations that you're setting. And also, they want results. They don't want cheap and easy. They want results. So, it goes back to don't be the Walmart of skincare. Like, I will pay the person that can get rid of my acne. I will pay you double. If I've been suffering from acne for 5 years and nobody's been able to help me, and you're the one, I don't care what it costs, but can you deliver on that promise? So, setting the expectations that you can, your team can deliver on is really important too.
Definitely,
So I
definitely.
think, less about the sales and more so about the relationship, the journey, and does your team have the capabilities, the resources, and the ability to act and deliver on giving your client really good results. So we do that by making sure that our team has a lot of opportunities for education. We do monthly meetings with our team where we go over, different product lines, what they do, who would be beneficial, how they would help your clients who would benefit from these products, treatments, services the most. So we help them identify their target market as well. So I think it's really all in education and not just, how do I do a facial massage, but it's also the business piece. How do I ask for the dollar? How do I ask them for $10,000?
How
And
do you ask them for $10,000, Jessica? What is the Jessica
how
Brandon?
do I
What is the Jessica Brandon way? I want to. Oh, this is it.
Jessica Brandon way. Well, it's very easy. First off, I start all my consultations with, what do you love about yourself? And really, the sale happens in the consultation. And so many times
Yes,
people
yes.
will bring their client in, they will take them right back to the room, get them right in their robe, and they haven't even had a conversation. And it's just a huge missed opportunity. I think that, we got to get better at the consultation process. I take an hour for my injectable consults, and I start it with, hey, what do you love the most, because it's so easy for us to, go in with this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. But that just makes people feel like shit, man. And nobody wants to feel that way when they're about to shell out $10,000, right? Like, be kind. It may be true, but you can still be kind with your delivery, So when I do my consultation, I, go over everything all the way from gut health and diet and lifestyle and what have you done that has worked in the past, what have you tried that hasn't worked, what's your favorite experience, because they're going to tell me exactly how they want to be pitched. So if I take an opportunity to listen and not talk, they're going to tell me exactly how to close that sale. And, make sure that when you are giving a treatment plan, that it doesn't just include the injections and the quick fix like the Botox and the fillers, go down the journey of here's the health of the skin. Here is the health of the tissue. Here's what your gut is telling me based on the things that I can see in your skin. Introduce them to the interceuticals and to the IV therapy and to all of those things. Even if you're not offering them in your practice, building those strong referral partnerships with the people that do are going to help optimize your results. But then also you're building trust within, the people in your community that can really just help your clients. And it keeps them coming back because they trust you. So when I ask for the $10,000 sale, really I say, here's your problem, here's the solution, and how soon do you want to get started? I really don't talk a lot about money. I let my front office talk more about the logistics. By that time, they're already bought into the idea that we're going to do X, Y, and Z. So I don't really talk dollars a whole lot. I let my front office team do that. Like, I'm there to give you a solution for your problem, not to talk about your finances.
Okay. That's interesting. I'm in a school of thought. Like in my spas, the consultant or the esthetician they do everything from A to Z during the first visit at least for consistency and flow in the process. But you say, and is this a process with you and everybody else who does consultations or services, that you have a recommended treatment plan and then you walk them over to your front desk and then?
No, this is for me as the injector. A lot of my estheticians they'll talk to their clients about what services they recommend. Here's the value by doing it in a treatment package versus doing a single service. So they'll talk numbers with their clients. For me, I am, if someone asks, like, what does this cost? Then I'll say, okay, well, here's what it costs per syringe. Here's the package. Here's how much you save. You can talk, with the front office about different options for financing and payment. And the conversation is that short. Because either at that point, after spending an hour with them, they've either decided that I'm their girl and they're going to work with me and they trust me and they're going to pay me what I ask them to pay. To me, when people nickel and dime you, what it says to me is that they don't really trust you or that you can deliver the results that they're looking for. So I'm really mindful of again, talking numbers with my clients. And I've been doing it that way for several years and have a great close rate. So I think for me, it works. Now, as a solo practitioner, that wasn't an option for me. So when I first started in my business, I was talking, all the numbers. And to be honest with you, there are times when I will book someone for their next visit and they're going, okay, I think this is like around $5,000 is what I came for. They're just committed to the plan and they're bought into the plan. Again, when you're dealing with a higher end client, they're less focused on the numbers and more focused on the results. So yeah, I don't talk a lot of numbers with my clients. I let my front office team talk numbers, and they can talk about financing and all of that jazz. And that works really well for us in our practice.
You teach your front desk how to handle objections?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. My front desk person is probably the person that I will that I put the most time and effort and energy into in terms of training and developing. We use a program called Podium. So we listen to calls at the end of the day to say, how did she respond to this? How did she respond to that? And again, I haven't had an issue where people have spent an hour with me. They agree with the plan. I go all the way to any questions. Is there anything I didn't answer? Is there anything that I missed? Is there anything that you're apprehensive about? Is there anything that you're fearful about? Is there anything, what excites you the most about this plan? And I get all that information. Never are they going, how much is this going to cost me? I shouldn't say never, but very rarely are they saying, how much is this going to cost me? They'll take that up to my front desk staff, and she knows how to, kind of talk with them about financing options and, care credit and Cherry and all of those things. And she works on getting them scheduled. She preps them for their visit. They go home with a little goodie bag with all the information that they need for their next visit. And she does a really good job. And I don't call her my front office or my admin or my front desk. She's my patient experience coordinator. And her job is to ensure that every person that comes into contact with our brand has an incredible experience. And in that is, the delivery on cost and scheduling them and making sure that they have everything that they need to get started.
What's a good closing rate, Jessica? What's a good average closing rate where you want your staff to be? I don't think your staff is ever going to be to the closing rate that you are, unfortunately.
No, I think we're closing right now as a group at 84%, which is pretty damn good. So our closing rate is really good. And again, I think it's because we go in really big on that consultation. We start our consultations with a Visia scan, which is really helpful because it's a great diagnostic tool. You're not just, saying words to a client. You're actually giving them physical evidence that this is a problem with their skin. So that has been a great resource for us. But, what we did was we looked at what is going to move the needle forward the most. And what moves the needle forward the most is doing the most consultations. And if we're taking our time and really putting the effort and energy into understanding our clients and their needs, then the rest is pretty easy. The sale is pretty easy after that.
Let's do a little bit of a summary of that journey, because I want to put the pieces together. So you partnered with a really amazing physician. You learned a lot by managing the business. Then you decided to become an entrepreneur because you knew you wanted more. And like you said, sometimes you can't stop that rush. I know, because I am one myself. Then you had one room, you put yourself out there, you give away free facials, you got in front of your local network and audience, you build trust, you build confidence, you build relationships. You also build skill sets that made you get better and more confident. You had a lot of past sales experience, which is phenomenal. I think a lot of estheticians really lack that, right? So they have to learn it from somebody like me or like you. So you put yourself out there, the business grew, the patient base grew. How did it grow from, I don't know what you were doing back then, 10 to maybe 20K, maybe a month? Maybe, I would say, probably a lot of volume. How did it grow to its own location? Like you said, you did a lot of things organically. That's a lot of organic efforts for sure. But can you just give us a little bit more on that piece of your journey? Because we talked about the beginning, we talked about where you are right now, which is phenomenal with a lot of your both patients and team education, which is awesome. Sales training, having group meetings together, which I love to mastermind on what we can do to help these people more, which I think more people should be doing, right? That's something that's missing in our industry, just like having these huddles on hey, how else we can help this client? What is the best treatment plan for this client? And actually, this is what I started doing because I have 3 locations, is getting my estheticians to start talking to each other
Sure.
start interacting a little bit more. But and you built a really nice brand. You built a really nice patient experience when they come in and interact with your brand, which is awesome. Let's fill that gap just a little bit
Yeah,
more, um,
sure.
and give our listeners a little bit of a clear picture, because I think the journey, right? That's it. The journey is what defines us, right?
Yeah. When I decided to bring on my first team member, it was because there was already a need for it in my business. I was maxed out. I was doing 7 days a week, seeing clients. And then after a full day of clients, I was, working on the business. So, I brought on my first esthetician and she did a little bit of admin and a little bit of, seeing clients. And then I brought on my second esthetician, and she was strictly just brought on to bring in new services. So we added lashes and things that I wasn't doing, permanent makeup and things like those auxiliary services just to fill the space. So now we're running 7 days a week. We are going 12-hour days. There's no place for me to grow. So I ended up getting a suite with 4 rooms, and then quickly brought on a couple more estheticians, brought on an EMT, brought on an RN, and really started working on, just being able to serve more clients. Again, we were already busting out the seams. So I think sometimes, I'll see people wanting a storefront, but they're not ready for a storefront. Like, there is nothing wrong with getting a little Phoenix suite and starting your business and starting with one room and kind of going from there, right? We all start at the same place with our first client. So there's nothing wrong with that model. And I think, making sure that as you're scaling that and bringing on new services and bringing on new products, that there's already a need for it in your business versus I want this to happen. So many times, like, I want to buy a laser because I want to do tattoo removal. Well, is there a need for it? Are people asking for it in your business? Can you fill the schedule next week if you brought in that new device? And most often the answer is no. So being really mindful of that. But, there was a need for more team members. So then we went into 4 rooms and we were going 12-hour days, 7 days a week. And we've maxed that space out. So now I am looking for to buy a building and double my capacity and just continue doing that over and over again. But where I built, had the biggest boost in business was in 2020 when we were shut down from COVID. So prior to COVID, I was just doing under $1 million. And post COVID in 2020, that's what pushed me to the $1.5 million mark. And then, the years after that, 2 million and plus. And so as COVID was really unfortunate for a lot of people in our industry, and we saw a lot of our friends and practices close down, I took the opportunity to bring in processes and procedures. We went electronic on our medical records. We built an e-commerce site. We did a lot of education with our vendors and our reps via Zoom. We did a lot of team meetings. I kept my team paid, and it's just like, hey, we're going to do education. We're going to do sales. We're going to learn, we're going to fine tune all of our SOPs and make sure everybody's on board with the protocol. So that way there's consistency when they see, this person versus this one. So we really just took the opportunity to put in the procedures and processes. And now we're at a point where all the procedures and processes are there. We have a really good, financial backing. We have a really solid team. And so the next move is buy the building and do it again. So,
Financial backing meaning cash from you that you guys are able to make, or did you go externally to get partners?
no, financial backing meaning, I've never taken out any loans. We don't have any debt. So financial backing in terms of the company's in a really good position financially to scale and grow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's go through. I'm gonna fire off really fast questions. I want you to answer fast because these are important.
Okay.
But what is What is the biggest mistake you've made in the last 8 years that you maybe wish you hadn't?
Not getting out of my own way. I think sometimes when we start a business, it's our baby and we don't want to share all the things. We're so afraid that someone's going to take our baby. They're going to destroy our baby. They're going to mess up our baby. And, that's untrue. If you empower your team, if you educate them, they can be a tremendous asset for you, and they can really help with your growth. There's oftentimes so many people in our industry that are, they have this beautiful brand online. They're very well known and they're burnt the fuck out. Right. And so not allowing my team to help me by, gatekeeping all of the things. That is what I would say was the biggest mistake that I made in my business. I have a lot of leaders on my team. And the second that I let go of the reins and stopped micromanaging, wow, they just really stepped up to the plate. And now I can leave town and I don't have to worry about the business. I, can take a day off, and I know that I have the leaders on my team that are still pushing those KPIs. And I'll say, get out of your own way, and let your team support you.
Wow, that's powerful. Any advice to new entrepreneurs who want to scale fast? We kind of touched on that a little bit. But three quick points. 3 quick points.
3 quick points for entrepreneurs who want to scale fast. I will say don't. It's a journey. It's not a race. And as exciting as it is, and all of those things, really putting the processes and procedures in place, being mindful of the people that are in your circle. You want to make sure that you are with like-minded people who have the same values, moral compass, drive, and they want to see you win, right? Like sometimes the people in our circle, it's like, I'm trying to plug up the boat and on the other end, they're putting water in the boat, right? So you got to be mindful of the people that you keep in your corner. And lastly, I would say that if you don't have the heart for being an entrepreneur, then don't. Don't. It's going to take a lot of commitment, dedication, hustle, sacrifice, and it's not for everybody. And it doesn't mean that you failed, right? But if you're going to go down this road of entrepreneurship and you want to grow and you want to scale and you want to scale fast, you got to make sure that your heart's in it.
Beautiful. What is your favorite fast food?
Oh, my favorite fast food. Gosh, I don't really know.
So we like to end off these with some irrelevant questions.
I guess it would have to be Chipotle. Like, who doesn't love Chipotle?
Oh, you got a good point.
I mean, it's pretty fast.
It is fast.
It's pretty fast. Yeah, Chipotle is a good one.
When you're not busy being an entrepreneur and scaling your brand and coaching other business owners in the space, which I know you do as well, and we'll put that in the show credits. How do you disconnect? How do you reset?
Oh, I am glamping. I'm in the mountains. I live in the Rocky Mountains. I'm 30 minutes away from Rocky Mountain National Park. I am on the lake hitting my paddleboard. In the summer, I will hit the paddleboard almost every single day. And yeah, I don't mind being in the woods and not showering for a couple of days. I love to ground myself. I'm a Capricorn, and that's really where I just recharge, is in nature.
You're my spirit animal, spirit human. You're my spirit human. I do the same thing. That's awesome. I love Rocky Mountain National Park. It's amazing.
Yeah, so pretty. So pretty.
What is your favorite luxury brand?
What is my favorite luxury brand?
I know you put in that you are the Louis V.
That
of
is
med
so
spas
crazy
in
because
Colorado.
No, I'm more of a baller on a budget. I am not I mean, I drive a Toyota and GMC Sierra. And to me, my GMC Sierra is my dream car. I'm like, I can put my boards out there. I can haul my trailer with it. Like, it's just, I love it. I'm not a big brand girl. I couldn't even really tell you. I don't own a Louis Vuitton. I don't own a Gucci. Um, if you see me wearing brand anything, I probably got it at Nordstrom Rack somewhere. So I can't really answer that question, to be honest with you. Um,
What's your
I don't
what's
have
your
a
favorite
favorite.
non-luxury brand?
My favorite non-luxury brand, I will say I am kind of a makeup whore, so I really love, like, I love Fenty. Uh, I love Rihanna's line. I love Kat Von D.
Aren't those
Um,
like luxury brands of makeup though?
I don't know. Are they luxury? They're not like the
I
Tom
don't know.
Ford or the Charlotte
I'm not the
Tilbury.
expert in that department, so
Um, yeah,
we'll let the internet decide.
yeah.
Jessica, you do a lot of stuff in this industry, and I know that you are more than happy to help others and to promote our industry and to make sure that things are heading in the right direction and we are doing the right things and we're continuously elevating our practices. Where can people find you to connect with you?
So you can find me online at jmarieskinstudio.com and modernaestheticsacademy.com.
Gotcha. Any social media handles you'd like to throw out
Yeah,
there?
at Marie Skin Studio and at Modern Aesthetics Academy, both on Facebook and Instagram. And always come see us in beautiful, sunny Colorado.
Jessica, Brendan, everybody, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.